Yeah, good morning. Thank you for coming so early for my talk. I was studying. I come from EV Medien, and I will show you a little bit housekeeping for your TYPO3. Short to me, my name is Michael Blunck. I'm a web developer, and yeah, that's me. I come from Cologne. We like Carnival, yeah. So, the problem. Most of us works with TYPO3, I hope so, and I work since 10 years with this, and I work with many editors, and I think I see two kinds of editors. The first editors was very fiercely about the possibilities in the TYPO3 backend, and the other guys are very mindful what he can do in the backend. My target is to bring the people, to bring the editors to efficient. Sorry. Edit in the backend, and I will show you some hints, some tips that we will do when we style and when we configure the backend in the next hour. I will start with the backend customization for the clients. Then I show the content, the possibilities of content element editing, and we will look in the configuration of the page properties, and last but not least, I will show you some module customization. We will start with the backend customization, and the first what the editors will see is the login, and we know it's a wonderful orange, but the customer will see a little bit more, and with the logo from the customer and a wonderful picture, it's very simple possible. You can go in the backend, in the settings, and there is the possibility to make the login, to style the login very simple. The editors feel home, and he had a good feeling when you go to the backend. It's a little bit more that we make with this. We can we can change the. Oh, sorry. A little bit breeze. We can change the logo from TYPO3 to the logo of the customer. Very simple too. And we can change. We can do the same with the favicon. In the most TYPO3 sites, we make it so that the favicon for the original site is the original logo, and we do an inverted for the TYPO3 backend. That you can do. This can do you about the with the settings too. Yeah. Next time we make it when some for a little bit better view for the editors. We can make the page tree a little bit more colorful, that he can see, as the editors can see where some urgent side. For example, he can't do editing, or where the news are. That is very simple. You can do it about the configuration in the user TS. For this are the options and the page tree and background color. And here you can do. Here you can set the page IDs with a color. It's very fun. You can do it with all things that you know it from CSS, with the string, with the hex, and with the RGBR. And here a little hint. I heard it's a problem with workspaces. Workspaces use the same colors. When you don't want a rainbow in the backend, you must show this. Good. Very helpful. We do it in every page is the page ID. When editor call you and say once and have a problem on the Datenschutzerklärung, you must search it, and it is very hard when you do it with a filter. When he can say the ID, you find very fast the page for this, and you can help the editor really fast. Here is really simple too. In the options for the user TS, the show page ID with title. Yeah, it's yeah. The next is backend CSS customization that is helpful for the editors to see the difference between the live and the stage system. We have often the problem that the editors see the stage side to see a new feature, and they will start to editing and will start new pages, because the difference between the backends are they see it, and this is why we started with a little hint that you are in a other environment. You can do here. You can do on this part many more, but this helps editors to see he is in a other environment. Danger is a little bit PHP. In the X-tables PHP, you can. Sorry. I must talk a little bit slowly in the breast between the sentence. It's hard. Yes, in the X-tables, here's a configuration. You set the path to the folder for your backend CSS. You can put in multiple CSS or only one file. Here we have a condition for the development or the live site. Yeah. The next is the backend elements customization that help us to override really fast the backend. Here's a very simple example. Here's only a text media element, and I want something completely different in the backend to show. This can you do with the mod.something preview page, or you can override the path for the backend extension. And then you can override the templates very fast when you set is in this ordering. It's very funny. You can I don't see it. You see the page layout, sprich the backend folders and the page layout folder, and the record folder. This is the same what are in the core. And then you make a folder with the name of the content element, and you put in a preview HTML, and then you can do anything in this. With when you do a fdebug in this template, you can get all of these variables to show all information that you want. Next time is for the content element editing. We start simple with overwriting labels, then we make a new options, and then we set the configurations of fields. We start with simple 2. You want to override the label as an integrator, and you don't want to work with local length files. That you can do with the TCE form. You can here override all labels with a simple string, or you make it with the xlib files. But now you have a problem when you just do this. This is for the global wide this is for all elements, but you want it for only one element. That can you do with the types. You will see here the TCE form, TT content, body text, and now it's a little bit magic, the types, and then here you can override the labels for the C types. So the C types you want. Here's the same, you can do it with a simple string. When you have a backend with multiple languages, you can do it with the local length files. Next time we want to override the default values in the dropdown with some a little bit more specific labels. It's very fast too. You go to the page TS again, and you can do with the alt labels override what you want, and with the add items you set a new select option. Or you want to remove items too. Here a little bit funny. When I start this presentation, that was not documented, but now it is documented. You can override the non option with 2 dots. When you want it, it's yeah, a little bit funny. Now you have the problem. You have a backend. You have much many options. We will see some editors will have a little bit fear about so much options. This is why we clean up. How we do it? Oh yeah, this is the same, but here is now we have here a C-type service with a button link, and we don't want the button link in the service. We can configure here many more. I have shown it before. You can disable every field that you want. And that you don't use for the editors. You can do it about the permissions, but you don't want it to editing for every group, and this is the way to should do. But here again, you can override per types. Set some things you want. The header link, for example, the header link, you will disable it for all elements except the Angelshop service element. Then you can override it here for only one element. When you have a multi-language site, we have some people have it. And say editors want it to translate in the default is hidden. Some editors don't understand it. Yeah, I know, but it's so. And when you will be very fast, you can disable it with some options. You can disable prevented copying and the hide copying. You can disable it or enabled it. It's yeah. The next thing is the translation hint. This is not we often not really we don't really use it often. So, but it's nice to have. You can override the translation really fast with the TCE main and the translate to message. and then you can override for the languages, for the backend. Yeah, you can do it. The most problem was we have is one problem was we have when we work with an editor. He have many options, and when we want that you work here a little bit faster, we can set defaults for the specific elements. So he must do any options in any tab. He changed something. In this specific case, we set the enlarged tooling, and that can we do about the TCA defaults and TT content that we set as before. That can we do with every field and with every value. That we can do here is the header. We can set the string. We can set ID. We can do it with a link, and so we can prepare it for the editors the elements. In the same thing, we can do it with the pages. On the same way, we say we set the abstracts, we set the keywords, and the author. In this case, you can set every field that we have for the pages and TT content types. And for every other tables too, you wrote the table name and you have the effect. Yeah, the configuration of a new content element wizard. Here too, you have the possibility to set this with the permissions, but perhaps you don't want it for every group. You can disable some element for all editors, and you can set or replace very urgent elements for the editors in the first tab. This can you do with, oh, I hope everybody can see this. No, not really. Okay. Learning for me, don't do the Dracula theme. It's not so good. Yeah, we can override the, I hope so something sees this. No, that's the wrong button. Yeah, with the mod, wizards, new content elements, and wizard items, and this is the common tab, and here you can set all elements that you want, and yeah, and this is why you can set some new elements. Yeah, here's the same. We can disable the elements that we don't want. And when the name with what we have typical page content, that can be override for a little bit specific for the customer. You can override this with the mod wizard. Your content element wizard items common header. You can set a new name or your name for a multiple language backend with a local lang. Yeah. When you, I've said it before, when you remove it, we have replace it, we have rename it. Now we want remove. That we can do it with remove items and the add to list. Says we can remove all elements that we don't want. So now we have remove, replace, and rename, but we want a new tab. In this file, the tab for the T3DD22, and with a new element. And now I hope you see all. It's a black backend again, the black theme again. Here we have after the wizard items, we have a provider. This name is only a placeholder. You can write in anything. and then you set the header, and then you configure the elements for the tab. And now you have our own tab with your own elements. You have this wonderful coffee pot. When you don't want to register new icons, TYPO3 brings some icons for you. Not for you, but for them, but you can use it. You can find it in the folder T3 icons in the core extension. And then you can use the icons on many ways or many elements when you want. It's a little bit better than when you configure new elements. Not better, but faster. I take a breath. No, thank you. Yeah, now I will show you, we call it in our engine C shorthand elements. You have editor, and they have an element, and you say it, yeah, you must set the new frames, and so then you change the layout, and then you must set the space before and the space after in this and this context. It's a little bit hard for some editors. It would be easier you configured the element before, and the editors must do what the editors can best. He can set in the content. But yet now we have an element where the text, text is left and the image are right. In the appearance tab, he sets the things with the new layout and with the different different options, and the editor must do nothing. And the same is here for the same element. The image orient is set before the editors have the element, and he can do only the content. He can do only set the content. How we can do it? Nobody can read it. I hope most of us knows the options TT content def values. This is way more than only the configuration. For the C type, you can do anything in this. You can set anything default value in this configuration. And it's very helpful to pre-configure an element for the editors, and in this case, you can do a little bit more with the shorthand element. When you set the layout, you can do it. Page TS is not so. Okay. You can set in the fluid the different cases for the layout. So you can configure an element before with a different layout. You can name it with other label, and the editors think it was a completely different label with a different behavior. Now this can we do with this thing. This is the wrong title. But this is what we something do. We set different layouts. The layouts we override is here with the text media, and with a different layout we can use different templates, and so you can have a text media element in different ways. You have 5, 6 text media elements. We have it's very often this combination, and and so you can use this without you configure a new element. The same you can do with a shorthand plugin. Plugin is a problem, something too. You have a plugin, and then you, the editors, must go to the second tab. Then he go in the plugin configuration. It's very hard for some. When I think about, everybody knows the news extension and the plugin configuration are something very hard for the editors when he create a new element. We do it a little bit shorter, and then we say this is a new awesome plugin. Then you can write here anything, and the plugin is pre-configured with some options. This is the same way that we see before, that you can don't only see the C type, you can see the set the list type too, and you have a pre-configured plugin. And when you want the options in the flex forms, you can set it before too. With this very simple configuration, you can override the flex form configuration for in the when the editors create this. With this, you override in this case the different labels. In this case, this is a switchable controller action, and you can set the value that you want. This is very helpful for newbie editors and for power editors, the same. The next is the configuration of the page properties. We know the backend layouts. There we have many options. We have a column structure, and we can do it a layout icon. The first time is the options that everybody knows, and I think it's in the documentation too. We don't want the non-backend layout. We want every time that is backend layout is set. You can disable this option, and this is all. We have it. We want configure the page properties for the editor, and we want hide something when he don't use it. And this time, you have links to an external URL, and nobody. I don't want to. We don't want. The editor can set the subtitle, and we disabled this in this case. How we can do it? The types configuration is the same kind like in the TT content elements, but here you use the doc type. You can write it here with the TCF form pages, subtitles, types, and then you must set the doc type for the page, and then you can override or disable what you want. So we use the backend layouts. I think everybody uses the backend layouts, and sometimes we want to show the editor a little bit like the representation in the front end. In this case, we want to show him. Sorry, here on the side you have a menu for the subpages, and this can you do when you bad theme. When you can do it, we have a specific call pause for every element, and this call pause that we don't want to edit from the editors. You can give him a very high number or something else, but you must set a number. And then you can, about mod shared call pause list, can you say which call pause can edit by the editors. What's helpful when you work with backend layouts, we have most of the times we have strange names for the editors, like white, like double backend, whatever. It would be a little bit helpful when you set icons for the backend layouts. You can configure it. Correct theme. You can do it with the icon identifier, and yeah, in the backend layouts configuration, you can set an icon for help the editors. This was an option, but the last time I do this presentation, some person from the audience had asked me, can we hide page options by backend groups? Yes, we can. This is editor. You see one page not. Yeah. I will show it was a little bit funny. I have no idea when I use it, but it's nice. This set. It's nice. Yeah, I said it was a beginner talk. It's now warning a little PHP ahead. We have the page properties. So most of the editors have a problem with the page properties because they don't see it when they edit the page. And it was a little icon in the in the head. This is why we use this. We set the information that the editors use. We set in the header. This is very simple. It's a hook for this. It's the draw header hook and the draw footer hook when you want it. We will take it out of the sys node extension. It's very helpful when you will set it. So most of the editors like it. When you play a little with BE edit links in new on the 10 or 11, you can make, is there something? Yeah, you can edit it. The editors must click on the can click on the page title or keywords or something else, and they can edit this in the backend and the page properties. Yeah. Now we came to the modules. I think the most modules would not use enough. These are the models that we talk about. The first is a list module. In the default is some pages when the editors goes on the list model are very much more information. You have much information in the list. It would be a little bit better when say all collapse and the editors only see what you want, and then he can go to the single table view. That's that you can set is with this little configuration. The next is we have many pages with FA user. They came from the Active Directory, and when some editors want set new FA users, sometimes you have a problem that can you disable it, and not about the permissions, about the options. In any other table, the same with the denied new tables options. When we have often the situation that the editors have delete a file, and we have a call that they delete the file of what can they do, and what can they do, and we configure in every in every file list that the editors can see the recycler. It's a small option that you can do in the that we do in every page. Yeah, I know we have a module for the recycler, but here editors can see it, and it's really fast. You create a new folder with the name _recycler_. Thanks. Here you can set the page limit, and yeah, this is a little bit information. Good, now I must be a little bit faster. The most underrated module is the info module, I think so, because you have many informations here. The page tree overview, the localization overview, the page.ts config, and the log. But for the editors, they only need the localization overview, and this, show the editors. That was information. Okay, you can see all page trees when they translate it or not. It would be very helpful. The next thing is the context menu. Some editors don't know the options that you can create multiple pages very fast. Yet then you can start with a new tree, with a new page tree. So not a tree, page tree. Okay. The next module that many people don't use it is the DB check. You can create some SQL queries very fast here, and then you can save it to reuse it very often to edit some informations or to use anything. You can export it with CSV. No pressure. So I think this is the last thing. We have the problem that you all have the problem, I think so, that we have not can versioning the backend groups. We try it for the last half year with a built-in option from TYPO3. With the xtable static ADT SQL, we export it, and then we can versioning the backend groups to share it with all our colleagues to work with it. Then we have on every environment stage dev live, we have the same backend groups configuration. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if anybody knows this, but it's very helpful for me as a TYPO3 composer helper. And now, anybody have questions?
In the very beginning of your presentation, you showed how to override default values in content elements and specific content elements via TypeScript. I know this is also possible in the TCA definition for the content elements via columns overrides. So to say, you can redefine descriptions and labels and set some default values. Would you recommend to do this rather via TypeScript, or is it something that's basically the same?
It depends. It's a beginner talk. I don't want a beginner in the PHP. When you have an integrator, it's an easier way to do it with the TypeScript. He can't do anything. It can crash anything, or not so much like PHP. This is why.
Thank you.
Okay. Questions to you. Something new for us, or all informations are very old? That's on us. It's okay. That's cool. Okay, then, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Will you provide your slides somewhere?
Yes, yeah. I will share it afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
Was this a question? Yeah, I think so.
That is in fact, this is the question, yes.
Yeah. Okay, then, thank you for your, yes, that you are here. Ladies and gentlemen, our last speaker for today, Stefan Busemann.
Boo. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Yeah, I like to talk about teamwork, workflows, and challenges. And that's a part of the history of Intercode, where we learned a lot in quite a short time. A colleague of mine, which is not an employee anymore, but still a friend, told me once that Intercode went through the history of software development in a time lapse. So we learned it very fast, and we made nearly every mistake you can imagine, we did it. And the good thing is that we learned from it, and otherwise we wouldn't be here anymore. So let's start. The first 34 slides are about our products and our company, of course. No. Yeah, we were founded in 2010. Some of you may know Alex Kellner. He's the author of PowerMail, and we are proud that we are still alive, 12 years now, that we are fully self-financed, so no other external stakeholders, and that we were able to grow up to 30 employees at the moment. What we differ from other companies may be that we are 100% focused on TYPO3. We, of course, I think we have one WordPress blog somewhere, I heard. But that is one thing, because when we founded Intercode, we were 3 TYPO3 addicted. It was Tina Gasteiger, Alex, and me. And we thought, why not just doing TYPO3 and try to lift the spirits of the community? And that's why is in our logo also the slogan, "We live TYPO3." Yeah, a last slide about us and TYPO3. We tried to get a Platinum member as soon as possible. I think we managed it in 2015 or 16, I'm unsure. We try to support with volunteer work. If some of you attended my talk from yesterday, it was about contribution and that everyone can contribute even without no coding skills. I'm a good example. Thomas will second this. Or better, I should not code in any way. But we have some people who are able to code, so we developed more than, I think, 70 extensions. Most of them are free at the TER. And we're trying to support the project as much as we can by organizing the user group, by sponsor events, and share the values of TYPO3. Because we think, as we are fully focused on TYPO3, as long as the product is successful, we will be successful too. And I think that will be the case for you also. So everyone can contribute, and the least you can do is talking positive about the product, talking positive about the ecosystem and the community. And even more, the more you engage, the more you can have control about the success of our ecosystem, and that's why I'm here. Yeah, as I told you, we made the history of software development in a time lapse. So I'm trying to tell you about different things we learned. First of all, I don't know who knows this picture. When we started, it was pretty easy that there is no teamwork, because if you're a small company, up to 6, 7 people, everyone will work on his own topic, and you don't need a big overhead. The more you grow, the more the overhead will grow, and at some place you could happen that you have only 1 who is working and 7 who are telling you what to work and how to work. But let's start with the beginning. our company was very small. We were very enthusiastic, like the first days in our office. And that was version 1.0 of our company. We had less than 10 employees. The project sizes were pretty small, maybe some medium projects. Our organization was not existing. We were just doing it, try to solve everything on time. The door who was squeaking at loudest was oiled first. That was the principle of the beginning of our company. We also were very efficient by having no project management. On the long run, it will not work out. And we were a team, but there was no teamwork. And so everyone who was contributing to the company was somehow doing everything. And at the end, financially, at that point, it went very well. So that because you had no overhead, everyone was working fully productive. It was very cool. We earned a lot of money, and it was cool. So, why grow? Could be a good solution to stay just as 6, 7, 8 people. Why then growing and having the risk of failures, having the risk of conflicts in your team? Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe you could ask yourself, who and where are your competitors? Because if you stay small, you will always compete with a lot of people who just starting everything, and they will be very cheap. And you always have to think about where are other software systems who are trying to steal your customers at some point, especially TYPO3 is being kind of attacked for simple and small sites by systems like WordPress or Wix. And that was one strategic question for us to decide that we want to grow, that we want to be bigger, too big to fail maybe, or maybe the other question around. And the positive thing is there wasn't a demand because people liked our work. We found a lot of work and customers, and we weren't able to fulfill the demand. And that was one reason why we decided to grow. Not every decision was taken strategically. Maybe at some point people were just employed that we can get rid of that project. And that was somehow then, project sizes were increasing. That's also a reason. And that was one of the reasons why we decided to grow. When project sizes are increasing, then your version 1.0, what we operated for some years, will not work anymore. Because division of labor is needed. You cannot fulfill the whole project with 1 or 2 developers. You need specializations, for example, people who are expert in XSpace, or people who are expert in Solar, or people who are doing that crazy HTML and JavaScript stuff, which I will never understand in my life, and I will hopefully never do something like this. And also, if project sizes are getting bigger, the complexity is increasing because people will call you and say, hey, you are expert for TYPO3, and I think you can solve our problem with an interface to system XYZ. And another thing is that also the communication demand is growing. You have to communicate more within the team, because if you have to coordinate your people, you need more communication, and that's a fact. So efficiency will drop. That's a fact. In our case, we were able to manage the efficiency somehow, sometimes good or bad, and so we were introducing version 2.0 of our team. So the project sizes started to get bigger. We were less than 20 employees. Our organization was somehow now a waterfall organization because we needed a project manager. We needed to write down everything what the customer demands because we wanted to protect ourselves for doing failures. And so we had big specification documents with 60, 70 pages. And we introduced more and more teamwork. But of course, the efficiency, as I told you, dropped a bit. And we then, in that phase, we had our first year, which went not so well. The result was that we have a Christmas party at our office with pizza instead of going somewhere fancy at a restaurant, having a lot of drinks. So that was the first year after introducing that structure. But we continued to improve everything, and we managed to get new clients, and it got fancy again. And the next year, yeah, that was one of the best parties at Christmas, having a stretch limo and going up to a casino. Yeah, that was really enthusiastic. But also, the first clouds were foreseeable at the sky. And we came to the conclusion that this kind of structure and teamwork is also at some point limited. And because there new challenges were arising in our team. One of that challenges we had a lot of was the called project hopping. As you can see, we had some people in our team who were really good at what they were doing, and they were demanded most from the project manager because everyone wants to have the top leading developer who's solving their issue. And the result was that the happiness of our project developers was falling. And also the efficiency was falling because if you can imagine, you have to jump between several projects all the time. You will never be into that project with your mind and with your passion. And so we had the problem that also the quality was dropping. And if the quality drops, you have to work harder to raise the quality again. If you work harder to raise the quality again, you will have to invest more time. If you have to invest more time, which is no one paying, so you see there's a negative circle which we ran through that phase. Then there was also the fight for resources because the project managers were fighting against each other. Everyone wants to have that cool developer. I was never demanded, by the way. And the project managers, some of them had also a kind of working style, which they had the most contact to the clients, and they had kind of what's the, let me think of the word. In German, it's a knowledge of domination, Herrschaftswissen, because the project manager knows everything. He is kind of being irreplaceable, and every developer has to run to the project manager to ask questions. And hey, how should I solve this issue? This is highly inefficient, and that is the reason why we came to another crisis where we had to reinvent ourselves and think about what were our mistakes. At the end, this was leading to version 3.0 of our organization. We were still growing. Somehow we managed it, even in some years where no big money was made. And the project sizes were still increasing. They got from medium to very big. And then we made the big buzzword. There was Scrum at the horizon. And we sent our project managers to some trainings that they will get Scrum. At the end, we found out that Scrum is not the right answer for us, because Scrum, if you think it as a toolbox, it's very, very good if you have a team which can dedicate it to work on a very long phase for one project. So if your client has millions of euros, and you can have a perfect Scrum team with 6 to 8 developers and let them run one full year, it's perfect. I think everybody would be happy. But I think in our case, and I guess also in most cases in your projects, you will have the situation that project sizes are much smaller, that no customer is able to pay a full team for a very long period of time. So that was the time when we tried to adapt everything which is good in the Scrum toolbox and try to be as agile as possible. I will talk a bit, in one of the next slides, I will go into details how we solved this. The efficiency was rising again, the project management was then dedicated, and teamwork was now, untrennbar, it could not be divided anymore. Also, the specialization was increasing in those teams. Our team structure is now, at the moment, for many years, that we have 4 teams, two core teams for projects and support for our customers, 1 infrastructure team, and 1 team for, it's called products and services. So we are, in that team, the products are developed, trainings are sold, and we are doing the sales process within that team. Yeah, what's now about workflow and agile? One of the issues we had, that we only had a gut feeling where we can deliver a project. Then we started to introduce different types of planning. We planned a lot with different tools. At the end, we came out with a very simple solution that's calendar-based, and we try to limit the sprints a team can have to maybe 1 or 2 at parallel. Sprint means between 2 and 4 people are working on a project for a period of time, normally 1 or 2 weeks, so they can focus on the projects. And the sprints are planned on the long hand in the beforehand. The rest of the team is working on a global backlog from their team, and so you can have the situation that you will have a sprint, and the sprint is divided into little subsections where the team is working. And this worked very well for us. We came back into a workflow what did paid out. We trying to use a lot of parts of the toolset from Scrum, like having a planning meeting where the developer are drawing the tickets they fit best for their skills and maybe fit also best what they like to do. Then we have a review meeting where the full team is reviewing the outcome of the sprint. If we have a dedicated sprint with a customer, we're offering the customer that they will have a dedicated review meeting for their sprint. So we have all those tool set from Agile to do. Another thing which was at the beginning very painful was the monthly retro. And that is a crucial part of Agile, that you have a trustful and open feedback of things which are working good and mostly things which are working not that good. And this is a part which you have to learn to take nothing personal, to take everything professional, and to work on the subject. And this takes a lot of time, but I heard from one of my teams that they are now on the point that they can skip a monthly meeting, that they can do it every other month because they had no issues. And I think that's a very positive sign if the team has such a team spirit that they don't need the retro that often. But at the beginning, in the last, I think in the first 2 years, it was very helpful, painful, but it's a good thing. Yeah, and then I think I mentioned it also, that sprints does for us mean that we do not want to have, that a customer does not have to wait for months until they get a sprint slot. So we try to balance it out between the projects where you have dedicated sprints and support issues, so that every customer can be satisfied. So, no more problems, everything solved. Teams working efficient. Teams work independently because a team is built on that they can fulfill all the customer needs within a team. They have front end, they have project management, consulting, back end development. So the team is like a little company. The teams are happy. No more retros needed. So I can stop here. unfortunately, you get new challenges at some point. Efficient means not that one workflow for one team applies to other teams. For example, in my team where I'm part of, I have a lot of part-time employees. So if you have a full-blown planning and review meeting with 4 hours per week, they would take 25% of their working time just for this. I know it's important, but you have to balance it out. So in my team, we found a work style that we are doing 2-week sprints and trying to reduce the times of reviewing by having peer reviews. So you have always to adapt, always think about what is the right approach. The teams are independent. That raises the question, how are you able to share your knowledge between those teams? Because the teams work very independently. The 2 front-end guys are talking always to each other. The 2 back-end guys always talking to each other. They have an excellent knowledge and experience in their projects. But where's the sharing between those teams, between all those developers? Where do new ideas arise? And team happiness does not mean company happiness, because as the teams are now acting very independently, they create their own agenda, they create their own values, and at the end you have new conflicts between teams because it is happening that those values might not match. Yeah, still, you have to reinvent yourself, think about, improve. So we tried to figure out those problems and try to identify options where you can lower the suffering. First of all, we try to improve workflows again. That means, for example, that we try to introduce more combined development standards, that we have a technical base which both or all teams are using. That's also that we try to find a standard for local development. 2 years ago, there were still a huge difference between the company, that some people were using local web servers, some were using DDEV, some were using Docker, some were using MAMP, whatever. So that's a thing which is at the end, on the long run, it's inefficient because you have to keep different technologies parallel up to date. And so we try to introduce our own Docker setup. And there was also a huge discussion, will we take DDEV or will we take a dedicated Docker setup? At the end, we decided for a dedicated Docker setup because we needed more flexibility. If you think of our content publisher, which has to serve 2 instances parallel, it's pretty hard to build up with a DDEV environment. Then we tried to look on how can we improve that the environments are up to date. That's kind of a question, how can you deal with technical depths? There's one word is, for example, the case of content update, that you get automatic updates from the live sites and get this to the development side and get this to local development. At the moment, we are working on a solution or we're in a beta status to have also that data cleaned up automatically. And the hugest step was the deployment. That project was 2 years ago. During the years when we grew, we had different incarnations of deployment. It started with SSH, then we had some bash scripts, then we had TYPO3 serve, then we had Jenkins, then we had Git deployment, and everything in parallel. So if you had to deploy a project, it took you plenty of time to find out, hey, how do I get that code now to the live server? And then we invested quite a lot of time to harmonize everything, and now we have one workflow within GitLab and deployer, and it's very visual. I think every one of us can deploy now a project, and that is also a big time saver. Yeah, and adapt workflows for the teams they need. That means for my team, I have a small team with part-time employees. You don't have to take the full-blown work style like in other teams. The next thing is that we made our minds about knowledge sharing. You can differentiate between a passive knowledge sharing, that's for example the setup of guilds, interest groups. We have a front-end group, we have a X-Base group, we have a Docker group, where people just exchanging their thoughts and raising questions via a Slack channel. We have a coding night, where we try to bring people together without, over the team borders, that they can work on internal projects and have fun and get a pizza. And so we are trying to support the idea of exchanging thoughts without having the pressure of projects behind. This is every month at the first Thursday. Then right after this, we have the Freaky Friday. This is the first Friday in the month, where we give the freedom for our developers to do whatever they like. So, for example, play around with the technology, improve an internal tool, work on an open source extension. So, and at the end, we're trying to think that this is a helpful way that people trying to hook up and exchange ideas and work without any project pressure. But besides that, we introduced also an active knowledge management. That means we are trying to set up regular appointments, and we are trying to set up the technologies we see as crucial for our company. That means, for example, we want to know how to set up an LDAP. We want to know how to set up Solar. We want to have everything around accessibility. And so we're trying to set up people also from different teams, and we are inviting them for an appointment to work on a mission, to work on groundwork for that topic. That means at the end, we write everything down in our intranet and trying to provide an entry point for all of our employees. That if you have that you have a first place to look at it when you have, for example, a question for CU or a question for accessibility. And yeah, next time, I think I will have a dedicated slide for this, is documentation. The documentation about processes and documentation about knowledges. And we have a knowledge base in the intranet where we have a kind of FAQ or something. If something new is published, we will publish it in the intranet, and there we have a good working search solution. And yeah, this is working out. Company happiness. Company happiness is not that easy to achieve because you cannot dictate, now we are happy. So it's also hard work to keep the spirit and the values of the company in a good shape. We thought that it's a good idea to introduce a sure fix, where we have every other week, every second Monday, a small meeting, about 15 minutes with the whole company and tell about sales process, tell about ideas if we get new employees, tell about new technologies, celebrate the launch of projects, and this is done every other week, so that we have an exchange. What we also learned is that you have to write down those results, because not everyone will be there. During the Corona time, a lot of people were working remote, so we started to include them with what kind of video meeting stuff. But still, you have people who are ill, you have people who are in vacation, and then we started also to write down the results of those meetings. And some of the results were very important, for example, those Corona rules, that we document them also, how to behave in the office, when come to the office, when not come to the office, and so on. I think I mentioned already the guilds. This is also one of the biggest effects is that people who are not joining the same team, that they meet to each other, that they exchange and try to talk to each other. It's a possibility of having communication. Same for coding night, same for Freaky Friday. And of course, the most painful event is the yearly company retro. When we started it in 2012, we didn't know that it is a retro. We just did it by writing down what issues we have, and we had those little cards where we put on the wall, and then it got a ritual that I collected those cards, and the next year I put it again on the wall, and we were trying to say what of those cards have been resolved, what cards are new, and what cards are completely not relevant anymore. The running gag was the telephone card, because the telephone somehow never worked as we expected it, and that card was there for years, but now since Corona, telephone is gone. I could tell now more about communication, but this would be another talk.
So the phone was broken? Or the phone was broken?
No, the telephone is gone because no one is calling. That's one of the really positive effects of Corona, that communication is now a planned task as normal work also. Because everyone is having appointments and you have an agenda, so communication is in most cases much more efficient than it was in the past. So if now the telephone rings, you know, it's advertisement, or the other reason is something is really burning. So that are the two cases. And the company retro is a thing which is very, very helpful. I think I will have another slide about this. And regarding happiness, you can always have something like beer. This is also helpful. Taking everyone to a restaurant, drink some beer, this might, in some cases it's not good, in other cases it could be helpful. Just relaxing. Yeah, coming back to the retro, it's simple. You start to collect. You discuss the items. Maybe you try to group them. Take it serious. In any case, whatever is written, take it serious. Don't judge, because sometimes it takes time that you understand the perspective of the other who is having an issue with something. That's the hardest part. Never take it personal. I can remember that there was a card where it was written down something like, Stefan is never on time, Stefan is not reliable, Stefan does not take me serious somehow. And they were true. And I found it out later, and I learned from it, and I tried to adopt, and nowadays I hope that people can tell that I'm now reliable and that I'm stick to appointments. And I learned this, that I dishonor the time of others if I'm not reliable. And it was painful for me, because having that open feedback from my colleagues, but it helped at the end. After retro, it's important that you identify action points, and we normally do this, that we take us some time in smaller working groups and write down what kind of action points can we introduce to solve those issues. And at the end, it's important that you track progress, because only if things are getting in place, there will be built trust. And trust is the clue in a company, that people are opening up and are encouraged enough to talk about issues. And of course, repeat. Do it again, but I can tell you, the more often you do it, the less painful it gets. And in some cases, you can have fun. I think I have to come to the end slowly. I would give you some further ideas which I think is a groundwork for our success. And one important thing is apprenticeship, that we started very early in training our own employees. And I'm very proud that one of my first, or the first apprentice is still in the company and is now leading one of our teams, and he's doing a really great job. And I can deliver several other examples about that. I can tell you that at the moment 30% of our developers were trained in our house. And this is good, but also it's important that you get always also people from the outside to get some new ideas. So a good mixture is the best, I think. But you have to know this is a long-term investment, but if you see this as a strategic goal, it pays out. And don't never underestimate the effort in doing so, but as you grow, you can also have a sharing of the work. For example, that nice picture was done by Florian. He made the work, I think, 1 year ago of rewriting our education concept, and yeah, we are working on it still. Next thing, I mentioned it already, write everything down. Write down the processes, how it works. Yes, it's boring. No one wants to document some things, but at the end, it is important, especially if the team is growing. You have the issue that people are ill or on vacation, and you need to keep them up to date. And it's not about writing something in Slack, because it will disappear. It will be out of scope. It's also not about sending an email to team@. It will also disappear. So find one central place to document your company. It's a knowledge base. It documents its processes. It documents your tools. And this is helpful. And of course, at the start page, you see there are the news, what's up to date in our company. When the company was in heavy water some years ago, we tried to change our policy of getting new employees. We thought it might be a good idea of give everyone a chance to work at us, that we can quickly find new people. The result was a heavy investment, because we found out that it took a lot of time to get the people on board. The longer you work, the more specialized your teams are, the more time you need to invest to get the people are running, because the workflows are somehow complicated. You need a lot of knowledge about the clients, about the setup. And so I must say, in several cases we failed. We should have taken a closer look to those people instead of giving them a chance and working 3 or 4 or 5 months with them. What we learned in that phase, that we need to improve also our on- and offboarding process. So we also wrote it down and tried to identify what steps have to be done that we can successfully onboard new people, that they can quickly start working. We introduced checklists, because in a complex environment, you shouldn't forget anything. That means some checks if data privacy training has been done, if every data are exchanged with the techs, then a lot of things have to be done. I think the checklist for onboarding an employee is about 20 or 25 steps at the moment, and still changing. We introduced a mentor. That means for the first months, someone is dedicated to help those people to get productive. And we try to get rid of the password hell, because I think this is an issue not everyone has on the list. If someone is leaving your company, you have to change all the passwords, the one who could know. So if you don't know which passwords the guy has seen, you have to change every password. And this is a big issue, because in most cases, if you have a good relation to your employees or to your colleagues, if the guy is leaving, it's okay, he won't harm you. But there could arise situations where people might not leave on their own, and this is an issue. And therefore, we introduced LastPass with a log system, so we can see which passwords have been accessed, and this is then part of the offboarding checklist to change all these passwords. Because it's our responsibility as an agency that we take care for data privacy and security for the environments of our customers. Okay, coming to the end. Main learnings. I can only say question everything every time repeatedly. Do not sit down in your comfort area. Listen to everyone and don't judge opinions. Try to stay open and always try to implement those changes. And if you stay open and positive, you will have a good company, you will have a good company mood, you will have a good efficiency. So, that are my 2 cents. Thank you for listening to me, and I wish you a good developer days ending. Bye-bye. Are there any questions?
Do you have any remote colleagues or are all on-site? So this sounds very on-site company.
If we had the talk 3 years ago, I would tell you we have 1 or 2 because we don't like the concept of having remote people. It's important that we have the company clue, that everyone is on location. Then came Corona and everything happened. Everything changed. So I think at the moment, from our 30 employees, maybe 7 to 10 are regularly at the office, the rest is working remotely. The best example is my colleague Scheibo. He's living 50 meters away from the company and he's a full remoteler now. But it's okay, it's his decision and we will support him. And for the team it is working out. I was very skeptical once having full remotes, people employed, but I can tell you if you have a good workflow, if you have good processes, it is very good.
You said that you have quite adapted the Scrum framework. At your monthly or bi-monthly retro, which people or which roles are usually present there?
We have the normal roles, the normal Scrum rules, developer, product owner, and Scrum Master. Each team has a Scrum Master. Not in every case they are trained, but I think at the moment we have four trained Scrum Masters, and 2 are doing the role on learning by the others.
And which of those participate in the retro meeting?
The retros are done by the team itself, and in each team there is a Scrum Master located.
Okay, so the Scrum Master is in the retro and the development team, but not the product owner.
I think the product owner is also taking part at the retro. I think this is helpful, and we don't have that many conflicts between project management and team anymore. That was in the past, I think in version 1 or 2.0, that was a big issue because there were big conflicts between project managers and developers. I think I mentioned some of the reasons, and hopefully this is gone and we have a peaceful together. Any other questions? Then I think I stop now. Thank you again and have a nice day.
Check, check. Hi, welcome to the TYPO3 closing session, TYPO3 Dev Day closing session. First of all, we want to say thank you. It was so great to having you here with us and yeah, having such a nice time coding, talking together, having a lot of fun, drinking one or the other beer. So it was very great to have you all with us. But of course, such an event couldn't happen without all the sponsors, and that's the reason why we want to say thank you to all the sponsors. I would now say the names, and I would love if one of you came up here. So first of all, we want to say thank you for Intercode for our patron sponsorship. We want to say thank you for East Central, T3DD22 and Zeitgeist for the room sponsorings. Please come up front. Okay. What is missing? Okay. East Central will send after. Thank you very much. We want to thank Full House and Maxter for the t-shirt sponsorings. Nobody there anymore? Okay, we will send them as well. As well, we want to say thank you for Team Neuster and .de for sponsoring Coding Night and Social Night. But of course, just sponsorings wouldn't make such a great event. So I want to say thank you to a lot of people, and I hope I will not forget somebody. First of all, we want to say thank you very much for the tech team, which helped us a lot for having this all here. We want to say thank you, of course, for the organization. We want to say thank you very much for TYPO3 and the TYPO3 GmbH for having us all here together and having a great time together. And first of all, of course, we want to say thank you for the man behind here. Carsten, please come up front. It was so great having you. Carsten had put so much effort in here and had such a lot of time here and make such a great event. Thank you very much for all the time. Thank you. But what would be all the organization without the support from others that help doing all the stuff and all the crazy ideas that we had? So we want to say thank you for Nina and Sandra for supporting the organization. So great. Nina, please come up front. And of course, last but not least, we will thank the organization, the location and the hotel for being our host. It was really great. We had internet this time, much better than the last time. So thanks to the location. Last but not least, developer days are of course always about sharing knowledge. People have worked interesting things, have brought up great theories, they have tried something, they want to share their ideas. And as we all know, it's not that easy to come up front and say, hey, I have something nice here and I want to share it. It's a lot of work and it's for people often not that easy. So thank you very much that you all shared your ideas and knowledges with us. Without that, that complete event would be completely useless. Thank you very much. Now we probably came to the interesting part of this. So 3 of them we want to say thank you very, very much because we want to give the best talk award now. So 3 people have done a tremendous... But you can't see in what... Okay. Okay. On the 3rd place, Benny Mack, please come up front. On the 2nd place, we have Oliver Bartsch. And on the 1st place, Simon, please come up front. Thank you all. As I know, for most of you, that was just the start of having a great TYPO3 time again this year and meet each other again that much because it was so nice. So we want to explain a little what the next camps are. So if you want to go somewhere else this year, there's the camp in Nantes from the 9th of September to the 11th of September. There is the camp in Munich from the 21st of October to the 23rd of October, and there's the camp in Rhein-Ruhr from the 4th November to the 6th of November. One last thing, please help. So if you go out and see somewhere where you can help, we would love that you give us a small hand so that we can all have at least a little time of Sunday. So that would be very great. And now I really want to end the Dev Days this year. We want to say thank you to all of you, and thanks to the video team. We have a small recap for you, seeing what this event made so nice. Thank you very much, and have a safe trip home. Good time.